Breakfast can be hard on the keto diet. For one, you're running out the door, you don't have a lot of time, you're busy, you want something quick. And two, you get kind of tired. You fall into this rut of eating the same thing over and over again. For me, that's bacon and eggs. I know that is for a lot of you guys because it is one of the most common questions people ask is what can I have for breakfast other than bacon and eggs? And I'm gonna solve that for you today. I wanna share with you guys my favorite keto breakfast recipes that aren't just bacon and eggs. And I feel like there's a lot of you out there that either struggle with eggs because you don't like the taste or flavor, you're allergic, or you have a sensitivity to it. Like Mike on Instagram, he reached out to me and wanted some suggestions that he could have for breakfast, looking for maybe some yogurt or something else that didn't involve eggs. So this video is for you, Mike. But there is a caveat. Not all of these recipes are gonna be 100% egg-free, but this breaks up the monotony of having eggs and bacon every morning. We're gonna go over the macros for each of these keto breakfast recipes, and I'm gonna share with you guys my favorite breakfast. The first recipe let's talk about is a Chuffle. Now, you guys have probably already heard of this unless you're new to the keto diet, and I've done several videos on keto Chuffles out there. A Chuffle is a keto waffle that is primarily made up of egg and cheese. And we do add other ingredients to it, so it's not so eggy and cheesy. Like I like to add almond flour to mine. You can add coconut flour if you want. There's many different flavors you could add to make it maybe chocolate or peanut butter, but that is one option that you could have for breakfast. They're quick, they're easy, you can make them in under 5 minutes. So here we go. For my basic Chuffle recipe, you're gonna need 1 egg, and then you're gonna add 1/2 cup of shredded mozzarella cheese and 2 tablespoons of almond flour, and then 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Mix that together until it's combined, and then we're gonna pour this into our waffle maker. Now you have options when it comes to using a waffle maker. I like to use the mini dash waffle maker because it makes it like an Eggo size, but you could use like a Belgian waffle maker or a square one. You could even use this batter and make pancakes if you wanted to. But you're gonna add this into a preheated waffle maker, close it, and let it cook for probably around like 3 to 5 minutes. You don't wanna open it up until it cooks all the way through. One of the common mistakes people make when they make Chuffles is they open it up too soon, and then it's just like leaves this gooey, cheesy mess all over the place, like the waffle stuck to that waffle iron. That's because you open it up too soon. So the solution is to close it and let it cook some more, and then it will release from the non-stick part of the waffle maker. As you can see, it's super easy to make. I like to top mine with some butter and some sugar-free syrup. I'll have my favorite syrup listed down below for you guys. But there's so many different variations of a Chuffle you can do. I have a video that you can click up here. It's my 6 amazing Chuffle recipes. I also have a Chuffle playlist that I'll have listed down below in the description box for you. Another thing that I want to say about Chuffles is that you can meal prep these. You can make them ahead of time, store them in your freezer, store them in your fridge. It's an easy go-to keto breakfast. Macros from my recipe of the original Chuffle waffle, it'll make 2 small Chuffles or 1 large one, depending on what sort of waffle maker you make. But just for this entire batch, which would be 1 serving, it's 320 calories, 24.3 grams of fat, 21.7 grams of protein. Don't worry, you guys, I am putting total carb information on my website soon. But total carbs are 4.6 grams, and the net carbs are 3.1 grams. And this is filling too. It has a lot of fat in it, so it's gonna fill you up. All right, another recipe that you guys can make that isn't just bacon and eggs are pancakes. And I have a delicious cream cheese pancake recipe for you guys. I've done it before on my channel. I'll have it listed down below, or you can click up here if you want to. But I thought I'd do a variation on this recipe, and we're gonna make some chocolate pancakes. The cool thing about this recipe is that you mix everything in a blender, and so cleanup is super easy because you just pour it straight into your skillet, cook up the pancakes, put it in the dishwasher, as long as your blender's dishwasher safe. But you could use an electric mixer if you wanted to. It's just since this recipe uses cream cheese, they don't really mix up all that well. You might get lumps. You might have to mix it longer if you're using an electric mixer to mix up the batter. To make my keto chocolate pancake recipe, you're gonna need to add 8 ounces of softened cream cheese, 4 eggs, 1/2 cup of heavy cream, or you could use a nut milk of your choice, 1/3 cup of coconut flour. Now, I like to use coconut flour in this recipe because if you were to use almond flour, when you cook with almond flour, it tends to burn faster than coconut flour, but you could substitute. You would just probably have to add 1 cup of almond flour. But don't worry, it does not taste like coconut. It does not have the underlying coconut flavor. These pancakes are fantastic. I get a ton of compliments on them. For sweetness, we're gonna add 1/4 cup of monk fruit sweetener, or you could use whatever whatever sweetener you want. And then for the chocolate flavor, I'm gonna be using Cacao Bliss for this. Cacao Bliss is a raw cacao powder superfood blend. So it contains cinnamon and turmeric, lucuma, black pepper, salt, MCT oils. It's so flavorful. I think it's better than just using plain cocoa powder, which you could use in this recipe if you wanted to. So you would either add a 1/4 cup of Cacao Bliss or a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. But I just love the flavor of the Cacao Bliss. It just, those extra little ingredients they have in there, those superfoods, add a ton of flavor. Plus I know I'm getting great nutrition. You'll also need to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder to help the pancakes rise. We're gonna blend that up and then pour it onto our griddle. Now I do like to use a griddle for this. You could use a skillet if you wanted to. I just feel like the temperature is better controlled if you used a griddle. Now I have a few tips when it comes to making these pancakes. First off, just pour a little bit down first. Maybe make 2 pancakes, because you know those first 2 pancakes that you make, whether or not you're making keto pancakes, always turn out to be flops. Like, it just takes you a while to get the temperature right on the griddle and how much you're adding. So only add maybe just 2 pancakes first before you do a whole batch. The second tip I have for making these pancakes is make sure that you're using a very low heat. You want to go low heat for longer. So lowest possible setting on either your stovetop or the griddle, and then let them cook until the edges start to set around the sides. A spatula should easily fit underneath it and slide your pancake, and then you know it's ready to turn. If it doesn't do that, let it go for longer. A big thanks to Cacao Bliss for sponsoring this video. If you guys are interested in their product, and I highly suggest you try it because you can use it for a ton of different baked goods, or put it in your coffee and add a little bit of sweetness to your coffee and a little bit of chocolate. It's so yummy. I'll have a link down below in the description box if you guys want to check them out. These pancakes are really good, and especially with that Cacao Bliss in it, it adds just that little extra bit of flavor. Now the macros for these pancakes, if you had 2 around 3-inch pancakes, you would probably get 8 servings out of it. So for 2 of those 3-inch pancakes, it's 210 calories, 19.4 grams of fat. Protein is 5.7, 4.7 total carbs, and the net carbs is 2 grams of net carbs. So that's really good if you're getting like a decent portion of like 2 pancakes out of this. Now I know that we said that we weren't doing bacon and eggs, but have you guys ever tried pepperoni and eggs? So good. You guys have to try this recipe. Basically, we're making scrambled eggs, but we're gonna add some pepperoni to this. For my scrambled eggs, I added 3 eggs, and then to make it creamy, I'm adding some cream cheese. This is 1 ounce of cream cheese. You don't have to add that if you don't want to, or you could add in some heavy cream too. And then season with salt and pepper. Now the trick to making really good scrambled eggs that aren't watery, it has to do with when you add the salt. And there's 2 ways that you can make scrambled eggs, and 2 ways that of when you would add the salt. First is you add the salt right away, and then you add it to your skillet and scramble your eggs. This will prevent any of the moisture from leaking out. Or you season your scrambled egg mixture, let it sit for 20 minutes, and then you cook it. If you season it and then try cooking it like within like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, you're gonna get watery eggs. It's just the way that the salt's interacting with the proteins. I usually don't have time to wait 20 minutes, so I will add my salt just right before I scramble my eggs. I'm also adding pepperoni to this. You could either use those small pepperonis, or I've just quartered a larger pepperoni so that's in smaller chunks and add it to there. I feel like it's the fat that gets released from the pepperoni that just really up levels these scrambled eggs. And you can turn this into like a pizza scramble egg and add on some cheese, maybe some veggies, a little bit of marinara sauce on top. It is so good. And all of these recipes I'll have listed down below in the description box, but they're also gonna be on my website, KetoFocus.com. And the macros for these eggs are so good, mostly because it's like, this is really gonna fill you up. And this makes, like, if you did 1 serving on this entire thing, it is 420 calories. Fat, it's 35 grams of fat, 25 grams of proteins, and then 1 total carb and 1 net carb. So really good macros on this, you guys. It's probably one of the best keto breakfasts that you could have. Next, I want to make something for the grab and go person that doesn't necessarily need to have protein in the morning. I want to show you how to make these keto lemon blueberry muffins. These are amazing. They are so good. You won't even know that they're keto. They're that good. We're going to start by adding our dry ingredients to a bowl. You'll need 1 1/4 cup of almond flour, 3 tablespoons of coconut flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. You want to mix that together and set it aside. We're going to work on our wet ingredients. So in a small bowl, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of coconut oil with 4 tablespoons of butter and 4 tablespoons of cream cheese. You want to melt this in the microwave for around 30 seconds, just until everything's just softened and melted so that it can easily incorporate into your dry ingredients. To these wet ingredients, you want to add 1/2 cup of sweetener of your choice. I'm going to be using a monk fruit blend sweetener, along with 1/4 cup of sour cream. Sour cream is like my secret ingredient for anything keto bread. It just really makes it taste like regular bread. Then we're going to mix in 4 eggs, along with a teaspoon of vanilla, a juice and the zest from 1 lemon. Then add in your dry ingredients, and then we're going to put in some blueberries. Now blueberries do have carbs in it, so I'm adding in 1 cup of blueberries, but you guys could add in less if you want to. Pour these into your muffin liners, and then we're going to bake these at 350 degrees for around 20 minutes. Now you can just have these muffins just like this, or if you want to up level them, then just mix a little bit of powdered sweetener along with some lemon juice to create a lemon glaze and drizzle that on top. Now let's talk about the macros. So this makes 12 muffins. So each muffin has 185 calories. It's 16.2 grams of fat, 5.4 grams of protein, 5.7 total carbs, and it's 5.3 net carbs per muffin. So pretty good keto wise if you wanted to have this. You could probably even have 2 of them in the morning if you wanted to. Now, a great recipe that you guys can make up ahead of time, this is a meal prep recipe, and it's good for if you are avoiding eggs, is to make chia pudding. It's so easy to make. You can add everything to the blender, mix it up, and then your chia pudding's ready. Or if you don't want to mix it up in a blender, you could just add your ingredients, pop it in the refrigerator overnight, and then those chia seeds will absorb some fluid and puff up and make it a pudding consistency. But it's probably one of the easiest breakfast ideas that you can do when you're on keto and you're trying to avoid eggs and you want to meal prep. I have a bunch of different recipes on my website. I'll have some of them linked down below. There's like a lemon blueberry one, a strawberries and cream one. There's lots of recipes out there that you guys can do, and they're very, very clean too. It's a good way to have good whole ingredients on the keto diet. And I won't go over the macros just because I do have a bunch of different recipes, but like for one of them, like my strawberry and cream chia pudding, just know like a serving of that, it's a pretty decent serving. It's going to keep you full, is like 1.5 net carbs. And it makes a great snack too. So if you didn't want to have it for breakfast, you could have it as a dessert or snack option. Another recipe that you guys can make that won't contain any eggs is to make a smoothie bowl. And I want to show you how to make like a healthy avocado green smoothie bowl. This recipe is so simple to make too. I'm going to make mine in my food processor. You could use a blender too if you have a high powered blender. But we're going to add 1/2 of an avocado to your blender. And then I'm going to use 1/2 cup of mixed berries. These are frozen berries. You could use fresh ones if you wanted. You could use maybe all strawberries, all raspberries, just any of the keto approved berries like strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, and blackberries, along with a couple handfuls of spinach. You could use kale too if you wanted to, or you could just omit this part if you didn't want to add that in. And then you'll also need 1/2 cup of nut milk. I'm going to be using macadamia nut milk because that's my favorite. You could use heavy cream here too if you wanted to, and just mix that up. I don't feel like this needs any additional sweetener, but you could add it as an option if you needed it to be sweeter. And then you could put whatever toppings you want, from nuts, coconuts, seeds, a little bit of sugar-free syrup, maybe some of that Cacao Bliss powder. You could add that in here too to make it a chocolate version. Super delicious. And this is another great recipe that you could meal prep. Just add in your avocado, spinach, berries into a baggie, put it in your freezer, let it freeze, and then when you want to make a smoothie bowl, you pull it out and then add your nut milk, mix everything together. So simple. It's a really great way that you could just package up a little individual smoothie bags. The macros are really good on this smoothie bowl too. So I would say all of these would probably make a serving for one. It's 189 calories, 13.2 grams of fat, and 4.2 grams of protein. Total carbs are high, but that's because of the avocado. So it's 17.1 total carbs, and then net carbs is 4.8. This next recipe is one that I pulled from TikTok. It's a viral recipe. It's called baked oats. And obviously we're not having oats because oats are not keto approved, but we're gonna make our own oats and we're gonna bake them, and it's delicious. This will make one large serving for you guys, or you could split it into two if you wanted to. But baked oats are basically like oatmeal that you're gonna bake. I'm baking mine in the microwave because ain't nobody got time to use an oven in the morning in my household, but feel free to use an oven if you want to. But it makes these, it's like almost like a dessert. It's so good, kind of like a cobbler. Basically, we're gonna be adding in a 1/4 cup of pecans, 1 tablespoon of almond flour, a tablespoon of flax meal, a scoop of protein powder. I'm gonna be using, like, you can use vanilla, unflavored protein powder, whatever whey protein powder you have that's low in carbs. You're gonna add that to there. And then a teaspoon of chia seeds. I'm putting this in a mini food processor just because it is a small amount. Basically, you just want those nuts to be kind of ground up a little bit. You don't have to use a food processor. You could just chop up your nuts more finely consistency if you want to. And you're gonna need 1 teaspoon of sweetener, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then to those dry ingredients, we're gonna add 1 ounce of cream cheese and a 1/4 cup of nut milk. I'm gonna be using macadamia nut milk. And then I'm also gonna stir in some raspberries. So this is around a 1/4 cup of fresh raspberries, but you could use whatever berry you wanted to. I'm putting this in a greased ramekin. You could put it in a mug too if you wanted to, or like I said, you could bake it in the oven. And I'm gonna bake this on high for 1 to 2 minutes. You just wanna cook it until it's set. It will still be kind of moist in the center, but that's the amazing part of it, is that it's just like a baked oatmeal. It's a heated up oatmeal, but with tons of flavor, and those berries, oh, so good, you guys. If you miss oatmeal, then you really wanna try this recipe. Now, talking about the macros on this will keep you full because it's 585 calories, 47.2 grams of fat, 36.2 grams of protein. Total carbs are high because we do have a lot of nuts and seeds in there. It's like the chia seeds and the flax meal. It's 15.3 total carbs, and then the net carbs is 6.1 grams of net carbs. But like I said, this is gonna keep you full, so it is a great breakfast recipe, or you could have it for lunch too. And it's something you could meal prep too. Just have everything in your refrigerator ready to go, pop it in the microwave first thing in the morning. Now, I did save my most favorite recipe for last. This isn't something that I have all the time, but it is delicious, and it is perfect if you're making something for like a casserole in the morning, like you got brunch, it's Christmas morning, it's Sunday morning, it's the weekend, whatever excuse you have, this is a great recipe, and you can meal prep it. So it's something you can make on Sunday and eat throughout the whole week. We're gonna make some keto baked French toast. Now, all these ingredients are gonna go in a blender because once again, it's just so much easier to mix up, plus clean up is easy. We're gonna add in 8 ounces of softened cream cheese, 1/2 cup of unsalted butter that's softened. You're gonna need 8 eggs. Yes, 8 eggs because it is French toast. It doesn't taste that eggy though. A 1/3 cup of golden sweetener. You can use the golden sweetener of your choice, but I do recommend golden just because it adds that extra little caramel flavor to it. A 1/4 cup of coconut flour. Then for some flavoring, we're gonna add in 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and then you'll need 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Blend that together until it's smooth, and we're gonna pour this into a greased casserole dish, and you're gonna bake it in the oven. Bake it in a 350-degree oven for around 40 minutes. You just want to cook it until it's like set on top and it's not still mushy in the center. And then it's done. You can take it out, let it rest for a little bit. And then you can top it with like whipped cream, berries, sugar-free syrup. It's so good. And this is, like I said, it's something that you can make up ahead of time. Have like 1 square in the morning, put it in the fridge, and then eat off of it the rest of the week. Now the macros for this French toast casserole, I would say that it makes around 8 servings. It just depends on how you cut it. But if you got 8 chunks out of it, each slice would be 285 calories, 26.5 grams of fat, 8.3 grams of protein, 3.1 total carbs, and the net carbs is 1.8. Like, such good macros on this. So you could afford to have a little bit of sugar-free whipped cream or syrup or some berries on top, but it's delicious on its own too. I hope this video gave you guys some ideas of what to make in the breakfast in the morning. Check out my other keto breakfast recipes down below. I'll have them listed. There's different videos that you guys can watch.